You know, entering your 50s really does throw a curveball into your meal planning. I've had to totally rethink the way I approach food. I used to love the big family dinners. I would cook for several hours, and every night we'd sit down for a nice family meal, the whole family all together. It was really my happy place. But things have changed, and I have to change with it. My family is all grown and out of the house, most of the time anyway, and I work later than I used to work. I don't have time to cook as much. I've looked into meal planning and things like that, and everybody's meal plan seems to be just all chickpeas and kale, and I just can't do it. I like a good meat potatoes kind of meal. So today I'm going to show you my new meal planning strategy, and in case you don't know me, I'm Stephanie, and I'm going live for the first time today, and I thought I'd invite you along to meal plan and prep with me for my upcoming week. So every Sunday I like to prep a big salad and a big pot of soup and sometimes a sandwich filling. I'll sometimes make some sort of a sauce, like a cheesy sauce, or I'll make some other tofu or something like that I can keep on hand, so I always have food in the fridge to eat and I don't have to think about what I'm going to eat. It saves so much time and energy when I'm not thinking about cooking. I'm just coming in and grabbing something. But before we get into all that, I am going to go ahead and start chopping up my veggies for a salad. Now, what I like to do is fill up this great big container with salad so that I have salad all week long. And I'm going to, while I do that, I'm going to always, so these are the veggies I use for these are the veggies I'm going to use for the week. I'm going to flip the camera down so you're not going to be looking at me, you're going to be looking at my cooking, and then I'll share about my new strategy for this meal planning. How's that? Okay. So my new strategy in a sentence is weekdays are all about efficiency, fueling the body. It's not about social time. I'll save my social meals for the weekends or for when I'm out with friends. And I'll admit, it was pretty hard for me to make that mindset. It was really hard for me to make that mindset shift because I so much enjoyed those family dinners. And I am a quality time kind of girl, so I enjoyed that quality time we had with the family every night. But I found different ways to connect. It's not like we don't ever sit down at the table together, but my husband and I have found different times to connect and different ways to connect. And our schedules are so busy, I don't feel like I'm missing out if I have to just grab a meal and run off to a meeting or something, have some other project that I'm working on. So this new plan is growing on me. It's a lot less work, and it's a lot less, thinking, a lot less thinking work. I'm not always constantly trying to figure out what I'm making for dinner each night because I already have food in the fridge for the evening. So I want to show you real quick how I chop up my vegetables. I typically don't like, people will take all this time and snap apart these cauliflowers, but that just takes a lot of time and effort, which I don't, because I want to get my salad prepped and all this food prepped within an hour to hour and a half, because I've got better things to do with my life. So I start chopping like this and just make everything super small. I even chop up the little stems because I like them. I think they're great. And you can't really tell what you're getting when you chop it up this small anyway. So when I do efficiency for the week, that gives me extra calories on the weekend to do something special, make a big fancy meal. So if I'm eating super healthy during the week and eating a big salad, oops, it's a bad piece. and eating soup most of the week, then when I hit the weekends, it's not a big deal to have a great big piece of pot pie or some mashed potatoes and things like that, because I've saved my fun calories for my social times and used my utility times or my fueling up my body times at the desk, just, eating healthy foods. So I guess it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time while I'm eating by myself or at my desk or things like that, then I'm just gonna eat healthy foods, the same thing almost every day, and it's okay. I don't have to feel like I have to make a brand new thing every single day of the week. And then on the weekends, when I have time to cook and we have maybe a church potluck or we have friends over, then I can make something new and fun. So let's keep chopping up I got started talking and I slowed down on my chopping. Can't do that, can we? All right, almost done with this. You know what I should do while I'm chopping? I should get some other things going. Let me see. There we go. All right, what I like to do, and this is gonna sound crazy, is I like to cook one of my starches up ahead of time because, well, for a couple of reasons. One, starches take a long time to cook. So today, you grab over here, I am going to cook up a whole pot of red potatoes. The fun thing about this method of cooking is I washed the potatoes a little earlier so you didn't have to watch my backside do that. And I'm just gonna put the whole potatoes right in the pan. And then I'm going to cover those potatoes with water, and I'm gonna cook them whole. And there's a lot of things that I can do with these red potatoes for meals during the week. One thing I like to do is one thing I like to do with the potatoes, I can make a smashed potato. Today, let me start at the beginning. What we're gonna make today is our big salad. I'm gonna make a big pot of chili because I can make it into so many different recipes. And my potatoes are gonna go along with that chili pretty well. I can do a chili potato, or I can make this into a smashed potato and serve it with like a chili dog. And I'm still getting my beans in for the day, and I'm getting lots of good nutrition, but because these are already cooked, they won't take long to cook at all because these are already cooked, they won't take long to cook at all when I'm making them for dinner. So I'm gonna get these started cooking, and then I'm gonna get back to my veggies. Be right back. They're gonna take a little bit longer to cook because they are whole, but it doesn't matter because they're gonna be cooking while I'm chopping. So I'm getting two things done at once. All right, now we're onto our broccoli, and we're gonna do it the same way that we did our cauliflower. We're just gonna chop it small. Let me show you. Ah! Sorry, this is the first time I've gone live, and I'm learning that it's harder than it looks. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead and just chop up our broccoli like this. Again, I chop up a lot of those stems too because they're good for you, and people won't know when we chop them small, people aren't gonna know. I really like the stems. It's like something crunchy to eat. Okay, now I'm on a roll. So what I do with my salad during the week is I make this base salad, and then I can change it up if I get bored. But because I have salad already chopped up in the refrigerator, it's so much easier to eat. If I had to come home every night and chop some salad, there we go, I feel like we're cooking. If I had to come home every night and chop up food salad and get it ready for the next day, I am confident that I would not do it. I sometimes don't get home until after 6 or 7, and then, you know, we take the dog for a walk and we have our family worship time, and so it gets to be super late at night, and I do not want to be up late at night, or I don't want to eat late, and I just run home. I can eat real fast because I got food cooked in the fridge, and then we can take care of all of our other business. All right, this looks fine and chopped. I'm gonna add that to my salad. Now, if you're worried that I haven't washed this salad, I do rinse them off before. I did rinse them off before we started. See, my salad bowl is getting full. And now I always add some color. So this is gonna be my color for purple cabbage. We try to eat the rainbow because every color of vegetable serves a different purpose. There's different phytochemicals that help us to be healthier, different antioxidants. So I just try to pick something of all the different colors that I can put in my salad. Oh, I didn't show you this. Where's my thingy? Oh, here we go. I wanted to show you this little guy. I use this even for my cabbage because sometimes cabbage is hard to get chopped small. Oh, this is gonna be really loud. Maybe I won't do too much of this while we're here, but you'll get the idea. And I usually put my cabbage in here, and it helps chopping go so much faster. I get onions and peppers and celery I can put in here. But I think because it's so loud, I'm gonna hold off on finishing that until a little bit later. But see how nice it chops it? Then you have little pieces and you don't have big old shreds like this of cabbage in your dinner. We got a lot of work. And the great thing about this, I got this when the kids were little, and it was so much fun for the kids to chop all of the vegetables. So I could get them in some sort of a shape like this, and my kids would love chopping vegetables. I said, hey, come down, we have to chop vegetables. And they would help me get everything all done. Now look, we can do the same thing with celery. I'll show you that real quick. And we just put one at a time in there. The bigger the piece, the harder it is to kind of get through. But if it's a little piece, it goes really fast. But again, I think I'll finish this when you're not watching because it does seem to be very loud. I'm guessing it's loud for you too. So I'm gonna put this back in my bowl and scoot this off to the side. Also, I'm gonna add to my salad some carrots. Now, these are the shredded carrots. Somebody shredded them for me because, you know, I don't really have time to cut up everything, and this is a time saver. Carrots are a little bit more work because you got to peel them and then you got to shred them, and they're hard to cut sometimes because they're harder vegetables. I also like to make sure I add some greens to my salad every time. So sometimes it's kale, sometimes it's spinach. Truth be told, my husband doesn't like kale, so it's mostly spinach unless he's not going to be eating it with me. And I just make sure I chop it kind of fine too, because I don't know, having a big chunk of spinach like this in my salad, it's just hard to eat. I don't like it. I like it when everything's smaller. So I actually make a chopped salad for when I cater for the office. I make chopped salad, and everybody loves it because most people don't take the time to chop up their veggies. They just kind of toss them in larger. All right, there we go. I'm gonna add that to my salad. Now, I can see what you're thinking, that this is too full, and I still haven't done all my celery and cabbage, but don't worry about it. I'm going to make up my salad for tomorrow, and then it'll be empty enough to put the lid back on. So let's scoot this out of the way. So there we go. All right, so we get our salad made for the most part, and I eat that every day at my desk. Sometimes I'll go ahead and put in some cooked tofu or some beans. I also like to put in some nuts and raisins. Now, this is gonna sound really, really lazy. Let me show you what I do. I have some mixed nuts and I have some raisins. And when it's like a really busy day or I just don't want to think about it, I'll put a handful of nuts and a handful of raisins on my salad. It adds protein and it adds iron and adds a lot of different texture to the salad, so it's so much better without any work. Now, if I want to put some work into it, then I'll put some tofu, or I'll make some walnut croutons, which are really tasty, things like that, or maybe some crispy chickpeas. That's good too. But that's my lazy way of making a salad that's going to stick to your bones. Maybe not stick to your bones, but stick so you don't feel hungry later. All right, I'm trying to clean up my mess. So one thing we try to do when we're eating healthy during the week is we want to we want to eat 6 to 8 servings of vegetables every single day. And we also want to eat a cup of beans. So my salad is at least 4 cups of vegetables when I eat it at lunchtime, and my breakfast, I usually try to have two fruits at breakfast. So maybe I'll have a banana, an apple, or maybe an orange, or a handful of blueberries, things like that at breakfast time. And then at lunchtime, I eat my vegetables, my salad, and then I've pretty much had all the vegetables I need for the day. And then anything else on top of that is just gravy, right? And so I can eat what I want in the evenings, if it's a piece of toast or whatever. I guess I meant piece of toast for breakfast. So, but in the summertime, I don't have to worry so much about getting those vegetables and beans in. So one way to make sure we get beans is to make a big pot of chili. I do this at least once a month. I make a big pot of chili because it's good for so many different meals. I can make a big pot, which we're about ready to do, and I can make it into lots of different meals. So I can make it into a chili potato. I can make it into a chili dog. I can make it into a haystack. If you don't know what a haystack is, it's like a taco salad, only it's layered to your taste. So you can put your chips down or your rice, and then you put your beans, and then some lettuce and cheesy sauce and olives and tomatoes and salsa and pico and guacamole and whatever else you want to put on that haystack. What I like to do with it is take a big cup of it, the chili, and put it right into my salad. I throw some chips in there and use a plant-based ranch dressing. It makes a great taco salad. It doesn't feel like you're eating a salad at lunchtime sometimes when you're kind of sick of the traditional salad. So let's get our chili cooking. To do that, I'm going to kind of go back and forth to my stove. So we'll see how we can make that work with this camera. I like to add to my pan onions and peppers. So you can see I chopped up my onions and peppers in the chopper that I showed you a minute ago, and I just put some of those into my pan. You don't need oil if you're using a nonstick pan, so I really like a nonstick pan. And some peppers. See, I always do the 3 colors of peppers. It makes everything pretty. Also gives me lots of different colors for my rainbow, and that's great. So I want to go ahead and put this on the stove, and I think I'm going to bring you with me. So give me just 1 second. let's do this. All right, there we go. Let's see if we can put you down where you can see what's cooking. There we go. There's our onions and peppers. I'm going to go ahead and, oops, get those cooking until they're a little soft. There we go. All right, we're going to cook these until they're soft. And I'm going to go ahead and add some garlic. You know, I think it's going to be better to do it over here because I have more control of where the camera's at and what you can see. All right. Okay. So once I get my onions and peppers cooked, my onions and peppers softening, I am going to go ahead and add in some garlic. I am using the jarred garlic because it is easier. And in a chili, you can't tell whether it's fresh garlic or jarred garlic. It doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and put that into my pan. And then let's talk about seasonings. What I like to put in my chili is taco seasoning, cumin, and some oregano. I think that's about it. So while that is cooking, I am going to go ahead and add, I like to cook my dried herbs with my veggies sometimes because it brings out the flavor a little bit better. If you don't, if you put your dry herbs in toward the end, then they don't have as much opportunity to flavor up everything, if that makes any sense. So there's our oregano, and then we'll go ahead and put in our cumin and our taco seasoning. Now I do pretty generous amount of the taco seasoning because that's going to give us most of our flavor. And where did that? Oh, and I forgot. You can put a variety of meat kinds of meat in your chili, and everybody kind of has their favorites, I think. If you're just turning plant-based and you haven't really figured out what you like for a ground beef, you can do a lot of different things. A lot of people like the Impossible. My husband really likes the Impossible, but I'm not a super huge fan. But you can also do some ground beef crumbles, which we're going to use today. And I don't use the whole thing. And sometimes, if it's just me eating it, I probably would just make a chili with just beans and no meat in it, which is kind of funny because in my family, they like to make chili with just meat and no beans. So I just kind of the opposite, you know. I guess it's black sheep of the family, I suppose. So I'm going to go ahead and put in about half of this griller crumbles because I want it to cook and brown into the veggies, if that makes sense, right? So let's go ahead. Put that in. And I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later. So I'm going to cook and let that brown for just a minute, and then I'm going to put in this chili sauce. This chili sauce is homemade. If you don't, which you probably don't, have this in your freezer, you can just use canned tomatoes. If you like it a little spicy, you can use canned tomatoes and green chilies. If you just like it less spicy, you can do canned tomatoes. But what I have here in my chili sauce But what I have here, but what I have, here in my chili sauce is from my garden. Last year when it got to be the end of the season and I had all these tomatoes coming on and peppers, I didn't have time to deal with them. I put them into the oven, and I just put my tomato, I washed tomatoes, chopped them up a little bit, put them in the oven with tomatoes, basil, not the basil, tomato, garlic, onions, and peppers. And I roasted them until they were nice and brown. Then I blended them up and I stuck them in bags and put them in the freezer. And that's what made my chili sauce. And it makes the best chili. So if you have a garden this year, make a plan for that. And I put about half of this into the chili, and that just adds so much flavor. And then I'm gonna add in some beans. So let's get this, let's see if we're ready for the chili sauce. All right, you can see that it's starting to brown, but it's not quite brown yet. I'm gonna give it a minute longer so it can really brown. You can see that our potatoes are cooking, but they're not even boiling yet. So it's gonna take a minute to get those going, right? Sorry, I do not know why that stopped doing its thing, but we're back. I've got my chili cooking. I went ahead and put in my beans and my sauce. I've got my potatoes cooking, my salad's done. And so we have a few minutes to kind of chat and kind of, if you have any questions, and we'd love it if you would put them in the chat or the whatever that is. And I'll try to get to them, but I have a hard time doing both. I might just answer all those questions after the live is over. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about the new strategy or the new way to look at food. The way I have always, where I was raised and the way that I raised my own family, food was a big center of social activity for us. We would sit together. It was the time that the whole family got together and we'd kind of catch up on each other's days. And it's really, again, my happy place. But with that social aspect kind of gone now because the kids are out of the house and my husband and I are really busy with projects and we work later than we used to work. We don't use food necessarily as a social time during the week. And so because it's not as much social, I'm okay with eating the same thing every day. And I try to change it up a little bit or do different things to change it up. But it's okay if I just eat a salad and a sandwich every day. Or it's okay if I eat a pot of chili and a potato. I'm okay with it if I do that, for 3 or 4 days. And so I save my social time and my social eating for the weekends when I have time to cook something fun like mashed potatoes or tacos. I love tacos. And that's why this new kind of thinking, this new mindset helps me out. So during the week, I eat healthy, and during the weekends, I don't go crazy and eat pizza and ice cream all the time, but I eat more fully. And we sit down and have meals together, and we invite friends over, or we go to a church potluck, and it becomes a social time again. So if you can think about it like that, and during the week, it's your fueling yourself time, and during the weekend, you can kind of splurge a little bit and eat some of the fun foods, you'll get your health on track a lot easier. Because even if you don't eat completely healthy on the weekends, just eating, your 4 or 5 days a week with vegetables and fruits and all these things, you're adding so much nutrition to your diet, you're adding so much health to your week that it's going to be okay if you go off track a little bit. So with our chili, I wanted to kind of, while it's cooking, I want to kind of go over a few different things that you can make into your chili so that you can do something a little different every day with it. So it doesn't feel like you're eating, the same thing every single day of the week. You can eat like a bowl of chili with some crackers, or you can make a chili potato, which is why we're cooking our potatoes. You can do a chili dog, and I do a smashed potato with the chili dogs. And I can just make a few smashed potatoes right in my toaster oven. It's so good, so fast, so easy. We can do the haystack, where we do the layered salad, or the layered taco salad with chips and rice and beans and all the things piled on top of each other. You can do the taco salad. I do that a lot for work. So I take my big salad container. Let me show you real quick. This is my container I take. I fill this all up with salad. And so I showed you the nuts and raisins I add sometimes. Sometimes I'll take a whole cup of chili and put it right into my salad bowl. And I will add some chips, and I'll add a little bit of plant-based ranch dressing to that, and that makes a great taco salad. And then I also sometimes will make a tofu taco meat, which I can throw in there too. And we're trying to get a cup of beans a day, and so that really is helpful for that. Another great thing to do with the chili is to do a chili mac. So if you have some spare time, or you made up a cheesy sauce, you could do a quick and easy macaroni and add in some cheesy sauce and throw in some of your chili, and you've got a delicious chili mac. And truth be told, if you have a couple cups of chili left over at the end of the week and you have a church potluck or something on Sabbath, you can easily make a baked macaroni and cheese, which is my favorite, and throw some chili into that and stir it up and take it to potluck, and everybody's gonna go crazy over it. If you don't have a good cheesy sauce recipe, I do have one. Another thing you can do with the cheesy sauce is makes a great grilled cheese sandwich or panini, and you can serve that with your soup if you're doing a different kind of soup. So I do also want to show you my salad dressing, because most salad dressings you buy at the store are full of a bunch of stuff that you don't want to eat. But oops. So what I do with my salad dressing is I have a couple of these. I like it because it's airtight. It mixes my salad good. This little thing mixes it up really well. And I'm just going to show you how I quick make up my salad dressing. I use this Good Seasons Italian, and 2 of these fit into one of these, but we're going to start with a half a cup of lemon juice. And again, I'm not squeezing my own lemons. It's not that I never squeeze my own lemons, it's that in certain recipes, it's not necessary. And so I'm going to go ahead and do my half a cup of lemon juice. Plus, I don't have time to squeeze lemons, and it's just a lot of work. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to fill this thing up with a cup and a half of water, because I'm replacing a lot of the oil with water. I'm going to use a little oil, but not as much. And then we are going to go ahead and add in a 1/4 cup of oil instead of the whole cup that it would have called for. This saves you calories, saves you fat. There you go. Oops, you didn't get to see that, did you? Got that much oil. And dump the salad dressing in. Put your little ball in so it goes down and breaks up all that stuff. There we go, and there's my salad dressing for the week. Okay, so for mealtime, we're going to have sorry about that, I was afraid it was sticking. Okay, so our choices for meal times this week, with all these things prepared, is we talked about all the chili things, but let's talk about the potatoes. You can do a lot with a potato. So besides the chili potatoes and having the potatoes with the hot dog, you could do, what I really like to do is do a roasted potato with these, or I'll do a breakfast potato, and I'll make a quick tofu scramble up. Tofu scramble really takes 10-15 minutes to cook. I've already got my onions and peppers chopped because I always keep these extra chopped onions and peppers in the refrigerator so that if I want to make something, I can make it really fast. I can do a quick stir fry with some fresh onions and peppers and throw in some frozen vegetables. If I want to do that, I can. So this week, likely what's going to happen is I'll do my salad every day. My husband will probably do salad 2 or 3 days, and then on a couple days he'll just take a bowl of chili to work. But when I get home, I'll probably eat my chili, except for on the day when I make a taco salad, because that's fun. And that's enough for the week. That kind of gets me through. We have a 4-day work week, so that's helpful. And on Friday, I'll have time to cook something up for the weekend, and we can, plan something fun. All right, our chili is about done. You can cook your chili for as long as you want. Let's go take a look at what that chili looks like. So our chili looks good. It's not quite done yet, but I'm going to let it cook for a little bit. And then we have our potatoes. Let's see if our potatoes are done. We're going to need to get a fork to poke the potatoes. When you're doing whole potatoes, you want to make sure that you poke all the way down, because it might be soft. Oops, there you go, I'm sorry. It might be soft on the outside, but it has to get soft all the way through. It takes a little bit of time to get these whole potatoes soft. But it's been about an hour, and we've got all of our stuff prepped for the entire week. The only thing we don't have done is the potatoes, and they'll be done in just a few minutes. So the chili is about done. Look how good it looks. This is going to be a great meal all week long. And then we also have our potatoes that we can make into lots of fun foods. Again, when you're making the whole potatoes, you need to make sure that your food goes all the way in. So they might be soft on the outside. They have to get soft all the way through. And looks like in about an hour's time, we made our whole meal prep for the week. And we're going to have healthy meals every single day because we prepped ahead. And if you are looking for a pantry list or some idea what you can buy at the grocery store to make sure you have healthy things on hand to eat, I'll put a link in my description box below for my free pantry download. And this has been fun cooking together. I think I like having you come along with me. It keeps me company while I'm chopping up all these veg. So I will talk to you soon. Have a good day.